We've been talking about whether Harry Maguire should be losing the captaincy as Manchester United's captain, as reported and rumoured this morning. Dev, what are your thoughts? Do you think confidence could be the problem with Harry Maguire?
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Yeah. I think you look back at when Ollie was there. He was playing every game and he improved our defence a lot. And then he was playing constantly because during that time it was COVID and football was sped up. No one had a summer break. No one had breaks during the season. And he was playing constantly for United, constantly for England. And during that time, he had that problem with his personal thing where he got into a fight, I think, in Greece. And people take long to recover from.
Okay, we've just lost Dev there. But I mean, what he's saying is that Harry Maguire under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a consistent player for Manchester United. And I think, I mean, look, hopefully we'll get Dav back on in a minute, but I think when you look at Manchester United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it was counter-attacking football. It was very, very deep. The fullbacks were tucked in. There was McTominay and Fred in front of him. I think Harry Maguire in that sort of system works quite well. I think at West Ham or an Everton, where you're going to do a lot of defending and your fellow defenders and midfielders are very close to you and it's compact, I think Harry Maguire works fine. I think if you want to play on the halfway, I mean, look, you put Harry Maguire in a Liverpool team, Liverpool are going to probably get relegated. So, because he can't play on his own in a high line. Dev, you're back. Sorry, I was just talking about there, saying how you were talking about Maguire when he's playing under Solskjaer. So what went wrong for you?
He had the quality. I just think he's not had the break, and he's not really had the time to reflect on the fact that he's gone downhill a little bit. And this was the last season where he had a bit of a break, but he's now got the summer now to fully understand that he's not who he was. He's got a time to come back in, and I think one more season where he can come out and prove himself, maybe fight for his place, is what he needs, rather than having pressure to be the captain, pressure to play a lot of games. And, if it doesn't work out after the season, fair enough, go ahead. But, keep him for one more season, let him fight, show him the quality he's had before, and who knows.
Dev, interesting. I mean, I certainly would agree that taking the captaincy off him has to be the start. And as Dev was saying there, take the captaincy off him, doesn't have to focus on that. If you're a John Terry or a Steven Gerrard or a Tony Adams or a Roy Keane, every week you're playing well, and then you're the captain as well. It's like Ben Stokes in the cricket, isn't he? Great cricket player, but can take on the team as well. Harry Maguire's been struggling to play football consistently for the last 18 months, and then he's a captain as well. That's not how it works. You're meant to be, the captain's got to be a consistent top-level performer. He's got to be stripped to the captaincy. And personally, I think he's not good enough for Manchester United. He's fourth-choice centre-back, and if he wants to play in the Euros, I definitely would be looking at that coal wheel and I'd be going, I've got to go and play first-team football somewhere. I really don't think he's good enough. I think he's... it's a bit like De Gea for me. Maguire is a decent centre-back. De Gea was a decent goalkeeper, but the game's moved on. He doesn't suit the modern game. 10, 15 years ago, he's a good centre-back. In the modern game, where you've got to be quick, mobile, break the lines yourself, I don't think Harry Maguire suits the modern game. Michael. Let's talk to Michael. He's a Chelsea fan. I want to mix this up a little bit. I want to get into Chelsea a little bit. I don't feel they've done enough in the transfer window so far. But you could argue some other clubs haven't done enough so far either. But they want to break into the top four. I think it's going to be very difficult. Chelsea fan Michael, you fancy a top four challenge, do you, Michael?
Yeah, I do. I fancy a top four challenge. I think outside of City, all the places are up for grabs. Yeah. We sort of like did our shopping last year to varying degrees of success. And the biggest signing we've made is getting a decent manager, as opposed to the disaster area that was Potter and the double disaster area, which was Lampard. I mean, the players must have wondered what was going on there. Pochettino can get 100% more out of every member of that squad. I mean, we've got the next superstar in English football in Colwell. We've just got to make him stay. If they let him go somewhere or other, that's complete lunacy. So we've got to keep him. I think the players that we've lost, when you look at it, we haven't lost that many games, in terms of the amount of times they played. Mount, I think his day had gone at Chelsea. Kovacic, likewise. Havertz, flattered to deceive. So, in looking in terms of the top four next year, I think the ones that are at risk, people talking like Arsenal are eschewing. No, I think Arsenal are in trouble. I think they peaked last year and everybody else has caught them up.
Interesting, Michael. I mean, I was talking about that. I don't know whether you've been listening, but one of the challenges Pochettino may well be given. And I think it's a great point that the big signing for Chelsea is the manager, because you did spend so much money in January, and you can't forget that the likes of Mudryk and Enzo Fernandez and Badiashile and everybody else, I mean, Pochettino has to get a tune out of those as well. The one area I do think, and look, I think Pochettino would be all over Harry Kane, and I think Chelsea would, but whether Spurs would ever consider it is, very, very unlikely. But I just think Chelsea last season, even under Potter, you didn't concede many, but you couldn't score. They need somebody to put the ball in the back of the net. I'm looking at that Chelsea team. I know there's a couple of younger players like Broha. There's this Jackson guy's come in. But I think Chelsea, if you just added, a really top striker, and God, everybody wants that. Is that a missing piece for you? Does that concern you going into the season, scoring goals?
It does, but it comes back again, I mean, we got £100 million striker stockpiled somewhere in Lukaku. Can anybody get something out of him? Even 15 goals, which shouldn't be beyond the wit and
would
ability.
You keep Lukaku, Michael? Sorry to interrupt, but it's looking like he's going to go. Would you give him another go at Chelsea?
Not if we could get anybody better, but if we can't get anybody better, well, part of management is getting a tune out of what you've got, like you just said, and that's exactly one of the challenges which would be ahead. So yeah, I mean, you're right. I think it's an area we're light, but I think we can get around it. I think with the important thing with Chelsea this season is the manager getting a tune out of what we've got and sorting out what was a ridiculous amount of people in the dressing room. And, so with that, I would like actually, I think the best two things we could do is get rid of two players, which is Cucurella. Never understood what we saw in him. That was bonkers. And Ziyech.
Yeah, definitely. Michael, thank you very much for calling in. Great call there from a Chelsea fan. We'll get into it after the break, actually, but some interesting comments from Pochettino. Just looking at the YouTube chat as well. Welcome to the show if you're watching on YouTube. We had a poll on there. Should Harry Kane leave Spurs this summer? 86% of the YouTube chat, and there's quite a lot on there, are saying that yes, he should. It's interesting, isn't it? I think it comes down to personal honours over club honours. You go to Bayern Munich, you're going to win the Bundesliga. You're going to play in the Champions League every year. You stay at Spurs, you're going to break the goal scoring record of Alan Shearer in the Premier League.